So we just finished the podcast and Dingle Dork screwed up and I had Dingle Dork.
I was like Dingle Dork.
That was a something word.
Okay, bibbity bobbity boo.
That was on camera too. So.
I use real words.
So we screwed up and we only have 30 minutes of both. But we got a lot of it on the other separate cameras. So anyways, we got a good hour and a half of great content there for you. So bear with us, enjoy, put it on 1.5 speed, learn some stuff, have a good time. Anyways,
back to the office with him, I still felt that, I helped move everything from the old office into this office.
Yeah.
And, the leadership portion of it. So I go in still missing it and still feeling like, oh yeah, this is my office. And then I went in for the class and I was on that side of things. And I realized now when I go into the office, I feel nervous. Like I'm not supposed to be there. Like it's because now I'm not doing the stuff I know how to do. Now I'm like on the other side and I'm learning things and I'm like, oh no. I have some insecurity.
It was like a role flip all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can get that.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden it would just feel nervous, but
it's intimidating, dude.
Yeah.
Like the industry. Yeah, I think the industry just in general is intimidating because, you walk into this space to where, if you think of any other industry, maybe I'm wrong, but you're not in a room frequently with your, competition, if you will. There's, they're not your competition, but they are your competition.
Co-opetition?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I have to give that to Ryan Orr. I heard him use that we rep last Friday, and I was like, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and especially in a sense to where it's and maybe this is like all businesses, but you're in a place to where you're told all the time the difference between you and that other person isn't necessarily what they know. It's not who they are. A lot of times it's just did they come and did they reach out to that person at the right time before you did. So it's like, is that also like who have I talked to that I'm forgetting about now that they're still talking to? And maybe that's just me, but there's definitely like a level of, and like I love pretty much everyone that's at that office. They're all great people, but there is, I feel like always just a little bit of level of like especially right now.
Comparison kind of like
comparison,
stacking up.
Maybe like a little bit of like we gotta am I doing as much as I can be? And you walk in there and it's like a reminder when you see other people. At least for me, when I see other people and I'm like, okay, they have this listening, they have this one, they're doing this, and I'm like, I'm looking for another one, and I'm like, I'm struggling just to find that. And it's like you have to remind yourself everybody's at different levels and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Business.
Yeah.
But at least for me, it's whenever I go in there, it's one, it's distracting because I just talk to people, so I try not to go in too much. But two, it's just like a reminder of like, I can be doing more, and I definitely struggle with as we talked about imposter syndrome, and I'm like they know this and I don't know that, and it wears on you. It's definitely an exhausting industry, and I bet you feel maybe some of the same stuff.
Oh,
as,
legit, yeah,
as a loan officer.
Absolutely. I think I'll boil it down to as a person, right? Something that I see happens a lot in our industry. People kind of categorize like, oh, well, that person's a lender, that person's title, that person's a loan officer. And then we create this perception that each person plays by their own mental rules of how they govern their emotions and how they go through their day. But the reality is we're all people. Mm-hmm. So when you say as a loan officer, I would say definitely just as a person, imposter syndrome is probably one of the scariest things that we face because it's in our head. Mm-hmm. And it's our own voice that has to be able to stand up to it and say hey, I'm not going to listen to you right now. Mm. You're just pumping. You want me to fail. Yeah. Yeah. And we can't call somebody in to have that conversation with us. We can't call for backup up there. So it gets tiring because we can fight that off for a long time. But let's say we're fighting it off, but it's 6 p.m. You had to skip a meal. You're running on fumes. You've got work stacked up. Somebody's relying on you for something else. Somebody's relying on you for something else. And now all of a sudden that imposter syndrome wants to kick in and be like, hey, see how bad you're doing right now? Yeah. Seriously. That's how it's going to be because you're not getting better at this. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I don't have the mental energy in this moment to fight you off. And that's when, if it can, it'll win. It'll be like, haha, depression. go.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it was super effective.
Go eat the Cheez-Its, go drink the beer, go watch Netflix. Like,
Yeah.
you're just going to fail at this anyways, yeah.
And it'll use that, and it'll be like, do it under the guise of resting.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're just resting right now. You've had a rough day, you know? And it's like, that's true. Sometimes we do need that. But other times I think it's like, it's just finding its way to kind of put us into a physical position that's going to be a lot easier to be like, yeah, stuff is bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's a lot. There's a guy I listen to, Jocko Willink, and he says it in the context. He's a good guy. He says it in the context of working out. And he's similar to what you just said, you know, sometimes you do need that rest day. But if that's the case, don't take it on that day that you feel like you need a rest day. Work that day,
that's a good
and then
point.
if you feel like you still need the rest day the next day, then take it. And I think with that, I mean, I use, you know, background in fitness. I use fitness as metaphors.
That worked out
everywhere.
great, though. I immediately identified with that.
Yeah.
That was good.
And it's like, you know, being able to, when you overcome those situations, when you do, like, continue, I think that's your imposter, the imposter guy in your head dying. You know, like he's taking a hit, he's losing a limb, he's losing a toe, however you want to phrase it, but he's slowly going away, and you do that enough times. Like, not only, you know, there's something, I forget exactly how, I've heard Sean phrase it, and I've heard other people phrase it too, but Sean's popping in my head from our office, and he, you know, when you're learning something new, it takes so much more effort because it's using your brain to like figure and piece things together, versus once you've done it 1,000, 10,000 times, you can do, you know, 5 more things at the same time, because it's natural. You don't even have to think about what you're doing. You can just, you know, make phone calls.
It becomes a second nature.
Right. And then, you know, the benefit is obviously you're good at it, you're an expert at it, but then also because you're an expert at it, you can then, you know, do something else at the same time and still get the same result, or pretty dang close to, because you're an expert in it. You don't have to think about it. And I think that's where, you know, a lot of people give up in anything that they do, is that beginning is like, you almost can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And then going back to this industry, and going back to actually what we said off camera, is that as an agent, at least, you have to know so many pieces of this to get through that imposter syndrome. And God, dude, it's freaking draining, because at least, I don't know, everybody's different, but at least for my brain, it's just like, God, man, like, okay, how do I piece this, and how am I going to help somebody in this situation? And I try to, like, whenever I listen to a podcast or something, I try to picture the scenario, and before they even answer it, I'm like, okay, what would I do here? And that's how, like, I learn without, like, actually going out and looking for somebody to help with that issue. I just learn by that person asking the question before the person that's actually going to answers. And yeah, dude,
You've got a super analytical.
He does.
That is phenomenal, because like you're having just like 12 thoughts in the time that I might have one.
that's not awesome, bro.
No, I know it's a curse and a blessing, because honestly, like, I have this same concept for different things. So yes, I know there are times when, like, you probably don't even see the benefits that it does for you, and then there's other times where you're like, oh my God, this sucks. I wish I didn't think this many things all at once. But outside perspective, just in that instance, I'm like, that's phenomenal, because like there's so many angles. So there's a really great book about overthinking, and I think that like having an analytical brain can sometimes be like overthinking a little bit, because like we go, right? You go, and then like you're exploring every possibility and how you would analyze those possibilities and how you would work through them. And I think that's sometimes like overthinking, except overthinking I think is a little bit more stress oriented. But like if you can harness the way that those thoughts work, it actually becomes nothing but a strength for you. So
that's what I tell her.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
I get it from my mom. She does that. She's very, like, you know, same thing. And to her, you know, God bless her, I feel like it sometimes can be debilitating. And I think for anybody that's like that, it can be debilitating. But I say the Spider-Man quote: "With great power comes great responsibility."
Right.
Right. Like I have to learn how to, like, chill, and you said 12 things, move it down to 6. Like, I have to bring it down, because those other 6 things, you don't need to be thinking about 12 things. Like,
right.
6 is enough, right? Like, just, you know, for arbitrary
right,
example.
for just demonstrative purposes. But
I appreciate that, but
yeah.
oh, no, you're not wrong. But anyways, this is about you.
Oh,
This is more about you. Like we get on here and we talk and whatever. So we're not gonna have you here all the time. So Everett,
yes.
tell us about Everett. Why did you get into the loan officer industry? Like what brought it? Because I am genuinely curious. Like I'd love to have a conversation with a title guy or an escrow officer. Why this? Because to me, my not super in depth in the industry face value of it or face what I see, real estate agent seems like the first thing that everybody runs to.
Yeah.
So why did you decide let me go the lending route instead of the traditional real estate agent route?
Because my branch manager is my father-in-law.
Oh, okay. Oh,
No,
fine.
like that's like the most basic version
Yeah.
of it. But the reality is, a long time ago, before in the way before 4 days, I was working at the city of Colton, and I was doing like after school programs. Would be like the community services. My wife and I met there, and we were not dating at the time, but her dad, being Troy, my branch manager, had said like, "Hey, like I've heard about this guy a little bit from you. Like I want to meet him." And him and I sat down for coffee, and he was like, "Hey, I kind of like the way you present yourself," and we chatted and stuff. And he's like, "If you're interested, go to school, get your license for this, and I'll pick you up at my brokerage." And I was like, "Thank you, but no." At the time, I didn't know anything about loans. I didn't own a home. I didn't know anything about real estate. Honestly, it wasn't on my radar. I still had room to move up where I was at. I was in a different point in my life, and everything was cruising along fine for me. So I didn't really feel any need to explore anything that was outside. Plus, I didn't know this at the time either, but like it's a full sales commission kind of job, and I didn't know anything other than just regular W-2 employment. So, in time, my wife and I started working together directly, and we butted heads a lot. It was really funny, but eventually, I realized that I was in love with her, and I had. We had talked about it and decided like, hey, like this was real. We were going to pursue being with each other and dating each other, but we also knew we couldn't work directly with each other at the city. So it was like, okay, if we do this, I'm going to leave the city. She was going to stay. So I left. I took a warehouse job for a while I did my schooling, my testing, which Sammy and I were just talking about a little bit ago. Like I'm a horrible test taker, so I did not get it on the first try. So for anyone that's like out there thinking like, oh, but I don't want to fail, like go fail, right? And then I got into the industry shortly after, and it's been very different, but I'm very happy that I did it. So that's kind of how I got into loans.
Is there any other reason other than maybe the monetary value that you're happy that you did it?
There's a lot of reasons, and it could be a given day. Because I do have that voice, that ugly voice that likes to like get into my head, the intrusive thoughts, and likes to try and persuade me to like pursue. Like I'm very squirrel, like. So any given day, I could feel like, oh, I need to go do this now. I need to go be this person. But there's so many things about being a loan officer that I think just continuously make me grateful. Like I work with families that they come to me and they're not ready to buy a home right now, and they've maybe talked to like 2 or 3 other lenders in the past, or maybe they've just kind of been put into like a you can't do this vibe. And a lot of those families or individuals I work with, and then like maybe nothing comes from it. Maybe the juice isn't worth the squeeze of owning a home for them. But the ones that do, and like they hit me up and they sent me like pictures of their kids like swimming in the pool in summer, like thank you so much. This is our first, and it's knowing that I hadn't talked to that person in a little bit, and then they reached out to share that picture of their family with me. It's like that's cool.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, that makes me feel
how
good.
You really touched them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's feeling gratitude from people that definitely makes it. But ooh, this is something I didn't even realize I get very excited about. But when people are new to the industry and it's scary for them, I can remember very clearly. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't. I'll be honest. And I got in and I got scared because I was like, whoa, this is all on me now. Like, there's no guaranteed income. Like, oh my God. And I remember how scary that felt. And something that does make me excited is helping people with that. It's like, so like when I talk to new people, I'll tell them like, hey, I get it. This is going to get scary in a minute. Like, there's going to be some moments here,
Yeah.
Drop me a line. Let me know. I don't care if I'm the person that can solve the problem for you, but I bet you I can find the person that can.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
And I like giving people like a resource at least. Like, especially like new agents too, like, because hopefully their office is giving them that backup. But, you know, like I like making friends and really feeling like I contributed something. So yeah, those are things that make me happy to stick around.
Aw, you're a special kind of person.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
especially for that last point. I mean, actually, all your points. You're definitely in the right industry for all those things. Helping the customer and then helping someone else starting, because, you know, there's that whole I forget what it's called off the top of my head. Cycle of emotional change, I believe is what it is.
Ooh.
And, you know, at the top, you're writing to where it's uninformed optimism. And you're just, you know, endorphins are going. You're like, yeah, real estate loan officer. I'm gonna kill it, make all this money because like I'm motivated. And then you know, whatever week, month, whatever wears off, and then you're in it, and you're just like, oh shit, dude, like I'm going against all these people that have been doing it for 10 plus years, and they've seen more than me. The imposter syndrome kicks in, and you're like, oh my God, I thought my day was going to be spent like helping people get into homes or whatever, you know, just helping people. And in reality, you probably, at least where I'm at, spend most of my day just talking to people that don't want to talk to me, and like not necessarily don't want to talk to me, but they're just like, oh yeah, you can hit me up. But they're just, you know, I'm just another stick in the mud, if you will, like, you know, just another guy that's reaching out to them. And it's, you know, that slow beginning process of the grind. And so for you to say that you enjoy getting someone out of that, I mean, I resonate with that, because maybe I'm not there yet, but I can totally see where, 5 years from now, like I would love to be like, hey, dude, just keep it going. It's okay. You need a hug. Come here.
Put on the shoulder pads and knee pads. We're going.
Right. Yeah. Just keep making those calls.
Yeah. Everybody starts at ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone stopped at ground zero when it got scary, we wouldn't have any successful loan officers. We wouldn't have any successful agents that we could even be inspired by. So, but I do love the when you find the people who are just willing to help motivate, and you know, I love that. Like the people who fell back in the race, it seems, and you go back and pick them up.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, it's true, because I think you guys face it probably, and when I say you guys, like realtors, face this probably more than loan officers, because I think loan officers largely work from home. Many have desks or offices, but that's just it. It's like an isolated workspace. Whereas like brokerages are a little bit more, I think, like akin to like the family village concept. So you're kind of put in the thick of it around other people, and then yes, inherently we do start playing that comparative game of like, man, that person started after me and they're already here, you know, or man, that person's been in this for 2 years and I've been doing it for 1 year, but like, look at how far ahead they are and look at where I'm at. And that's really hard, because I think the intention for like gathering was, like you were saying, like you're kind of around people, you get charged. I think you had mentioned that earlier about like the office. I could be wrong.
I guess nervous that I'm not doing enough. I think a lot of it has to do with like the people that I listen to podcast wise.
Yeah.
And being a dad, a boyfriend, and also someone that's conscious into health. It's like those three things: the cooking, the taking care of my daughter, and then making sure my relationship is strong. It adds those three level of things that then I hear there's this 20-year-old dude who drinks Soylent, doesn't have a kid, and doesn't have a girlfriend. And I'm like, he's gonna fucking outwork me, you know. And I'm just like, oh, like they're gonna take over and they're gonna win. And I'm like, okay, how can I get more and more done? And then going back to like the content piece that we were talking about too is like the same thing. It's like, you know, Sammy was praising me yesterday because I went and I did those shots and I came back and I started working, and like she's always, you know, God bless her, praising me for my work ethic. But in my head, I'm like, no. I mean, I can be outside doing yard work, but that's not going to make me money. Like, you can say I'm a hard worker because I'm doing yard work and I go from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. But that's working harder, not smarter. And I know there's a level of like, you know, I'd be stupid to say, oh, I need to start leveraging out activities when I haven't even built that baseline foundation of how to do them.
Yeah.
But it's still just like, you know, I'm constantly judging myself of how smart I'm working. And when I get into that office and I hear people that already have these systems, and then I'm bad at hearing the system and hearing, you know, say 5 systems that they have that I don't have, and then being like, oh wait, but they built one, And then 2 months later, they built another one. I hear the 5, and then that's where we talked about when you first got here. Today was one of those mornings where I was like, there is literally like, I could literally talk about 10 different things right now, Sammy. Like I got this going on, I got this going on. And it was just like, oh, okay. And I had to like, and that's when I have to shut it off, tell that imposter syndrome voice to shut up. And I'm like, okay, just do what I have in front of me. And then just keep moving. Or I listen to like a podcast that like, and I just focus on that. I totally like lost my train of thought there.
No, it's good. I was tracking.
Appreciate that.
One of the things that you had said that like, because we were talking about going into the office and then potentially like feeling like that competition, and you said something that I do a lot, whereas I'll look at somebody and then I'll look at the factors that are in their life and their time frame, right? And I'll immediately be like, oh, well, that person's they're gonna outpace me, right? But then it's like that's where we're losing sight of the co-op part of like the co-opetition. We're just focusing on the competition part because realistically, yes, there's market share and yes, everyone is going after the same market share, but the reality is there's business out there to be found. So instead of like looking at it from the competitive, that person's gonna outpace me, it's like, hey, what are you doing? And then it's like, yeah, granted, realistically, their life and the factors in it might be different, but there could be 1 to 2 things in there that you could say like, hey, that's sweet. Like I'm gonna find a way to modify my life, my schedule to do those 1 to 2 things. Yeah. Right. So it's like the competition exists because it's real, right? We see it, but the co-op there is like, hey, that person was willing to chat with me. Yeah. Even though they know that we're both in like the same market center and everything, like that person was willing to chat with me and share with me how they run through their morning. Oh, they do this. They prep their coffee XYZ way, and that's faster for them. Like that might seem insignificant to the business, but hey, take that and be like, I learned that. That's going to save me some time. I'm going to implement that, and I'm going to feel better about how I move through my day. Yeah. You know, and the systems, like you guys are very systems, and it's for good reason because there's a lot of relationships that realtors have to manage and be a part of. Because I don't like the word manage when I hear like relationships because it feels
like it's a chore.
Yeah, like not organic and like not like you want to, like a job kind of. Yeah. But like relationships that you pour into and then you also receive from, you guys have a lot, you know? So even just learning how somebody who's maybe doing it differently, just having the ability to take that insight, like that's huge. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. And I'm good at systems, even if you're not. I got you on that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just need to learn a little bit more about the ends, and we're gonna get systems because I can't operate without them.
I think no. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I listened to there's a guy, Tom Bilyeu. I don't know if you're familiar with him, founder of Quest Nutrition. He has Impact Theory. And anyways, he brings up that like the way his relationship with him and his wife are, I love him. He's probably one of my favorite people to listen to for business and like life advice. And he says that for him, he's very like out there thinking of anything and everything. And he's, and his wife has to be the one that's like, calm down.
Yeah, pulls the balloon back down a little bit.
Like we're here right now. You see that thing? That's where we're going. Not that thing. Not that thing. That thing. And already like in this and seeing like I can already feel like I'd be lost without her. And if I'm being completely honest, almost makes maybe I don't even know if I've told you this, makes me feel like less than, because then it's me saying I'm relying on someone, but I already know like right away that that's kind of like some dumb, something stupid that I'm telling myself. But she's much better at the relationship piece, I think, because if we're going to like the DISC assessment that everyone talks about, the high I, I'm very in any relationship I'm in, like if I'm providing a service. And that's how I'd view anyone in the sense of like, if this is a service-based relationship, yeah, I'm here to help you, you're here to help me. But I'm more just like let's get the job done and go. Like, and that's the end of that task is when we're all happy. And she's much better at enjoying all the little things in the middle that, make it even better. So it's like, and that's a huge piece. It's a huge piece. So to have someone like that to where it's God, man, like, because the more I do this, it's like that's almost, I would say, is a necessity. So instead of having to look at myself and be like, there's all this stuff I need to learn. Oh, and also I need to learn how to be better at this like emotional skill. Oh, it takes a load off my mind. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I don't know if this is just me being new still or like me being naive, but I have this, I see other people as competition because we're all going after the same thing. But I think that since I started on the leadership side, I see everything, and I don't know why or when this got put into my head. I see everything in this abundance mindset where it's, you got to work hard to get anything in every aspect of life. However, I feel like if everyone wanted it, we'd all find it. So I don't, maybe, like I said, maybe I'm still naive and new, and that hasn't hit me yet where I'm like, oh, crap.
No.
But
Hold on to that. Please do. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've met people that have been doing it for a long time, right? And not everyone that's been doing it for a long time is like this. So I want to preface my statement with that, but I've met very jaded individuals that they basically wear a mask to go out and succeed, right? And I feel like that sucks. That sucks, because there's definitely an unhappiness there, and it's not being addressed. It's just being covered with that mask.
Yeah.
And I've seen these people talk poorly about others and stuff, and it's like, dude, that it's inaccurate. We're letting the jadedness get to us, and deem that people are a certain way. We come up with backstories for them and stuff, right, in our head to justify these negative thoughts about somebody, be it competition or another agent who maybe fumbled and unfortunately impacted the way one of your deals was going to go or something, right? Like, I say for as long as you possibly can, hold on to that, because the reality, I just stay positive, stay up.
I mean, the easiest way that you can keep, I mean, we can, hey, Google, how many homes are there in Southern California?
I don't know, but I found these results
Oh, that didn't help. Dang it, Google. But I forgot, God, and I'm trying to think, and I was like, this can't be real, because I just briefly popped it up, and I was, one of our most likely goals is to move to Hawaii. We already kind of have like the island in the area. I love it. We have to, like, she has to visit it to see. But that's a big goal of ours. We can get land, like right now you can get an acre that's 3 blocks from the beach for $100,000. So it's, I mean, it's great. And anyways, but I remember looking and it's, I can't remember if it was 4 million people or 4 million homes. Maybe that was Hawaii in general, but just hearing that number of, it was like 4.5 million something. It seems extreme. So I'd have to look into that more, but when you look at those numbers, I mean, here's a better one. Rancho Cucamonga, right now, listings are down. Like, for at least the past 10 years, they are lower than they've ever been for this time of the year. But there's still 100. There's still 100 right now that are on the market. So it's like, there's 100 people selling a home. How many people are buying those homes? The average days is 30 days. Right. So, I mean, you could run the math and the numbers on that. It's like how many people are buying. So there's essentially 200, say, transactions going on this month right now. And most people will be happy if they got 2 of them, one of them in that city, because then there's multiple cities. So that at least, going back to the analytical side of it, I guess that's what we're doing.
But that's good though, because like you ran that analytical side to kind of like feed the positive concept there. Yeah. Right? Because the negative concept would be like, oh, the market's in a downturn. Because if we listen to headline news, strictly just headline news, right? Markets in chaos, cats and dogs living together, pure, just anarchy. It's horrible. And you'd get real down, especially if you're a newer agent. You would get real down about like, oh dear God, why did I get into this industry right now? I've made a mistake. I need to run. But you rode that analytical wave to like look at the numbers and say, hey, like statistically, like there's a way to do this still. Like you were saying, like you do, if you want it, you're going to find a way. It's going to be work. It might be unconventional work. Maybe, you have to find the process that works for you, but like it's still there,
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I forget what it was, and it's funny. God, what was it? Actually, no, I don't even feel like touching on this. There was a situation where I told her the best way that I learn is like being thrown into the fire, if you will.
Oh, trial by fire.
Yeah, like you get going, because then like that the heat's on you, and it's like, okay, figure this out. And you know, and I remember being in it and dealing with that particular situation. She looked at me. She's like, "You said you like being in the fire," and I was like, "You're right."
I don't want
As
to
I'm
hear that
like,
right now.
right? No, so I mean, I'm pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, I laughed. I was like,
Yeah.
remember when you said you just want to go ahead and be thrown in the fire? Here we are.
But I think that goes back to
That was such a like I told you so moment.
She's bad. She was saying stuff at the wrong time sometimes.
Like we said, when we first met, it was like, no way, I'm also you're exactly where you need to be. You know, whatever, it's a good part of life or it's the bad part of life. You know, whatever it is, you win or you learn.
Yeah.
And so when we do that for each other, we're like, I
So frustrating.
Can I sidebar? And feel free to chop this out, but like watching the evolution of you guys has been phenomenal.
Really?
I have said to my wife with a shit-eating grin on my face, like, I love listening to these two because you can hear and I'm gonna preface, I don't know if the L-bomb's been dropped, but I was like, I can hear the love between these two. Like it's phenomenal.
pretty quickly it was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, was it? Okay, good. So I was like, but like, yeah, I can hear the grins on your guys' faces through the podcast a lot of times. I'm like, that's funny. That's good. It makes it enjoyable to hear, you know?
Well, I think
appreciate that.
I think it's one of those things like for us that like we have so much in common. And just to make a long story short, we had a buddy who recently like broke up with his girlfriend, and it came down to this one thing that I know we have that in my opinion trumps everything else. That like, yeah, there's so much more that I love about her, but if she didn't have this one thing, that it would not work. And that is, can you forever grow? Like that cannot stop, in my opinion. Like I couldn't imagine being 50, 60, 70 years old. And mind you, if you're happy where you're at, then that's totally fine. But if there's something you want to change, I need to know that I'm with somebody that's going to be like, okay, let's start. Like we're here, we're not happy, and we got to keep moving. And when I mean, that's honestly what I think. That, and then the whole, you know, you can change your. I remember the conversation, not verbatim now, that we had. That she sparked my interest originally, and it was along those lines of like not accepting your unhappy situation, and that for me is what made the L bomb, if you will, start flowing. And then if you're hearing the evolution, a lot of it too is, you know, the difficulty in it and such that, yeah, I mean, obviously we have arguments and stuff that we have to weed out and go through. But it's through those, and the reason that it is crazy, and you probably agree, I've never been in a relationship before where it's so easy to not fight, if you will. Yeah, there's disagreements and we have to work through things, but it's so freaking easy to just be like, what's the point? Like, why am I gonna, even if I feel that charged feeling, it's like, no, I'm not gonna let that over. It's so easy to not let that charged feeling take over and make my decisions or cause me to say things that I don't want to say.
I think at that point, you're not fighting the other person. It's, all right, how do we do this so that we're fighting whatever it is that we need to learn how to get over. We need to learn how to live with each other. So, and yeah, I've never had that before. I didn't know that it was possible, honestly.
So we've evolved.
I'm just
Yeah.
it's like Kodak moments.
It's
Oh,
funny.
he's like, you're leaving me hanging.
There's some people in the office who are like, I saw it all happen. And we're like, yeah, we didn't do a good job of finding it.
No, you guys were about as secretive as a brick through a window. So I remember I don't remember who I asked once. I was like, hey, Rob and Sam, everything, right? And it was like, they just stared at me like, why? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave it at that then.
It sounds like a Nancy thing.
Maybe. Or
No, it wasn't Nance.
It wasn't
Nah.
maybe Brittany or Lana. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been Alana, but like, yeah, I could tell like eyes went bug-eyed, like, why are you asking me this? And I was like, I'm gonna leave it alone. So, but that's cool.
You can find love in real estate.
You can find love in real estate.
Find love anywhere. You can find love.
Right.
Find love when you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, right?
It
Yeah,
is.
That's
unfortunately.
how it
Definitely
goes.
how it goes.
Yeah.
So I'll jump back because I think that we're all enjoying being able to riff, but I I don't want to not give you
squirrels.
guys. Yeah, I don't want to not give you guys what we had hypothetically talked about. So, I think we were going to talk on the LLPA thing. I think. Right?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, for sure. That's funny. We did
That's
kind of.
still unclear
Oh,
to me.
it's like-
we do. I'm totally down with that.
I guess, but that's like the typical theme of at least the ones that I watch. It's like shoot the shit for the first half, answer questions in the second. That's at
Perfect.
least what I've seen.
Sounds right.
But yeah, I mean the LLPA thing, to my knowledge, is
Wait, what is LLPA?
Fair.
actually no, this is his
So
thing.
loan level price adjustment. Think of them as basically. I did a thing on this. It's like buckets. Your financial profile kind of lands you into a certain bucket, and that bucket might dictate that your interest rate could have a higher cost or a lower cost. There's mess loads of buckets. So just know that when your financial profile is being reviewed for your interest rate, there's a few different factors, things like debt to income ratio, loan to value being how much down payment you put, credit score, things like that. All of those different factors are looked at, and then depending on the outcome, your loan level price adjustment, the cost of your interest rate, will basically be kicked out, and that's like I said, depending on those buckets, it's going to be less or more. So there was a announcement sometime back, and actually back in like January, that loan level price adjustments were coming for May 1st, and it didn't really get any notice. Like people didn't really talk about it.
By coming, you mean they were changing?
Yeah, so like basically, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they were restructuring the way that these we'll go with LLPA's, that these LLPA's were going to hit, and basically the reduction, so the discount on an interest rate that a well qualified buyer would receive would be diminished a little bit. Still receive a discount, but would be reduced, and then let's basically say that discount would then be like kind of dispersed to maybe less qualified buyers. A big way that this was marketed, and I don't really understand why it was done this way, other than to get people mad, was like, oh, people with bad credit are going to raise the mortgage of somebody with good credit. It was like a very incendiary kind of like headline. Like it really wanted to get people mad, right? Like
that's the news for
Yeah,
you.
right?
News and YouTube, unfortunately. now,
yeah,
too.
oh, YouTube's bad for it.
Yeah.
Like I love YouTube, but sometimes I'm like clickbait. But yeah, so these were kicking in May 1st. Now, what a lot of people didn't realize was like these were for files that were delivered after. So basically what that means is when a file is delivered, it's already been closed. It's gone through a bunch of different things that have taken place after the time that file is closed. Now it's being delivered to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac after. So from like May 1st and forward. And a lot of people were like, oh, this means that on May 1st, we're going to see this huge, well-qualified buyers are going to see this huge cost increase, and less qualified buyers are going to get huge discounts for bad credit. The reality is this has already been in pricing play for like at least a month probably. So because if it's going to be
When they're
delivered,
sold.
yeah, like realistically, these numbers have already been in the system for a while.
Yeah.
Additionally, I don't know why the news all of a sudden picked up on it. Like I saw Fox was running anything on it, like calling it like I think like socialist lending or something like that.
There was nothing going on at the time, so like, oh, that's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they're like nobody been fired yet, so they didn't have anything to get mad about yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so yeah, it was just like a lot of attention garnering headlines, and it got a lot of people angry. And I think that's the part that it like irked me the most. It's like, why are we getting people angry? Educate them on what it is, how it impacts them. If they really don't have an ability to overturn this option, right? Like if there's nothing anyone can really do about this in this particular situation, educate realtors, educate buyers, educate sellers. How will this impact them? So we talked about this like in the last team meeting. And one of the things that came up was that one of the realtors there was facing a challenge because I think, and I don't remember if this was hypothetical, because if it wasn't, it felt like something that could definitely happen. The seller was basically upset because, I'm going to list my home, but now I'm just going to have to pay all this money now because I'm a well-qualified buyer, right? And I was like, well, the inverse thought of that would be, if this is an attempt to open up affordability for less qualified buyers, doesn't that mean that your potential buyer pool has increased? Right? Like, so two sides of every coin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even it's not even like an insane amount. I mean, yeah, is it? I totally get why someone will be like, oh, damn, this sucks. But we're talking like the difference of, maybe $2,500, $3,000 to where it's not a huge amount to where if you're a qualified borrower, it's going to be, it's not as substantial as it would be to someone that's less qualified. Just, stereotypically speaking, they're not as good with money. But also, I also found this out, and I don't know all the, all the rules and regulations around this, but it's actually possible to get all your LLPA's waived if you meet, I forget the average medium income. If you, as a household, make less than 100% of the average medium income for your county, you're able to actually get those waived.
So what this is probably referring to is, and you'll hear the term called AMI, area median income or average median income. And there's a lookup tool for this to tell you what the median income is for a lot of different areas.
I know it's 173 for San Bernardino and Riverside County. Off the top of it, it's
because I want to say for San Bernardino, the 80% is $69K. But I'll have to double check on that.
Okay.
But in short, this is probably referring to like there's the Home Ready program that has discounts for that. But and as much as you're right, there are ways to maybe circumvent in certain situations. But we also have to look at if somebody's making less than the AMI, there's probably a cutoff on that. Like I said, like maybe 80%. Like you need to be making less than 80%. And at that point, what kind of monthly payment are you really going to be qualified for? Because your purchase price is going to be tied to your monthly payment. So it's something that I would say would be like a case-by-case basis for somebody. If they were looking at trying to utilize something like Home Ready where it has like discounted costs on it, definitely case-by-case. But yeah, it's not the end of the world, the LLPA thing. And it wasn't back months ago when it was announced. It's not today. It is going to be an uncomfortable conversation to have with a few people. Yeah. Definitely. Especially when people want to be upset about something. Like you can tell the way somebody goes into a dialogue, right? They're like, hey, and what's this I'm hearing about skibbity bobbity boo, right? And like, like, oh, well, that person does not like skibbity bobbity boo. Like they're going to be very upset about this. And like, I would immediately go and like,
Cinderella.
Yeah, it was their favorite song. But that kind of dictates to you, like right out of the gate, like, oh, this could be a sensitive topic for this person, right? Like,
and it makes sense. Like, I get it. Like, I hope I don't come off as insensitive with that. But I guess, going back to why you need to work with people that understand this stuff, because this is something that I kind of dove more into just yesterday, where I was looking at the numbers, and I kind of understood this. More from a high level kind of view, but then going deeper into it, it helped me understand more when it comes to just the whole how much you put down. And I reached out to you and I asked about some video that I watched with recasting, to where it's like, okay, you're going to get charged, arbitrary number, I don't know, 1.5% in the LLPA's if you put 20% down, arbitrary number. But if you put 10% down, you may be paying PMI. But then it's like you can recast after 6 months. So it's
do a
like
lump sum payment and then recast the mortgage.
Right. See where you're saving more money. But it's like something like that, to where that's why it's important to work with people that understand this stuff, because there's if there's anything I've learned in the as I mentioned, the 4 years, I mentioned in the last one too, that I haven't been in the industry for 4 years, but I've just been turning content and videos and podcasts for 4 years on the topic, is that there's almost always a strategy to make something work better for you. I don't even want to say 100%. I want to say always.
No, 100%.
So it's one of those things that, yes, it does suck for a lot of people, but just looking at it and saying, oh, this is it. Like, that's it. I'm getting charged that extra $3,000. Not necessarily. Like, there probably is a good way for you to get around that cost. And honestly, that's what I love about it. Going back to the analytical side of things, that's what I love about the business, is like, that's why, like I told you before we went on air, like, I want to knock on someone's door and just be like, all right, what's your problem? How can I solve it for you? And then and go run with it. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Give me a week. I'll be back. Like, if I did that for a living, I'd be ecstatic.
I think that's probably the streamlined version right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look at like a really successful real estate transaction, it's not just like that surface level. You bought or sold a home. Congratulations, achievement unlocked, right? No, it's typically like you had a challenge, like you had a desired end goal. There was problems in between, and the successful good realtor, like they came in, they observed what the goal was and that problem, and then they developed a strategy to circumvent that problem, get around or solve, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that what you said. Like, what's your problem? I'll be back in a week. Like, that's like the super streamlined version of it. But yeah, a really good transaction, be it a refinance, a purchase, whatever. It solves more than just I need a home,
Yeah.
right?
You're making it that. I mean, that's realistically because we're not needed. You don't need a real estate agent. You don't need a loan officer for the transaction you're doing. But it's like, just in our case, and I'm sure you're the same, like we educate ourselves daily on this stuff. So it's like while you go and you do your job, your business, whatever it may be, we go and learn the skills and the scenarios that even if we haven't faced them yet and you're the first time that we're seeing that problem, we go at it because that's our job.
Yeah.
You even if it's your problem, we can spend, you're at work, say 9-10 hours a day, most people, driving, whatever. We can sit down, spend 4 hours of that day for a week, a month. Okay, how can I solve this the best way possible? We have the connections, the people, I've gone to you with questions. I've gone to Ryan with questions, title. Where's the issue here and how can this be solved?
Right.
And that's where, again, though we're not needed, what you're paying for with us is one, you can save money. So ultimately you end up saving money even though you're paying the commission because we're finding you going like to the LLPA thing.
Right.
Okay, put down less and do the different strategies. But then also hey, don't worry about it. Like we got you. We'll figure out the best move for you. I don't know.
And I wanna like save you here real quick. He was doing air quotes when he did needed. Because you're like, yeah, we're not needed. Because I think like you guys are needed 100%. Maybe like, yes, can somebody legally accomplish a transaction without using a realtor? Yes. Are you going to spend a lot more time, money, effort, just mental health headspace?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to spend exponentially way more of that than without.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, when you're saying we're not needed, I'm like, for those who can't see Robert, he is doing air quotes on needed. So, but
I guess maybe for me, that's something that I struggle with is looking at things from different points of views. And I've have to slowly like train myself to be better at that. And for me, I can't think of anything I don't like to learn about. So when there's something that is in front of me, it's like, okay, what can I do? Like, let me learn about this. How can I be do better at this? But then there's going back to the biggest thing that stood out from what you just said, the time factor.
Oh, yeah.
What is your time worth? Are you going to spend all your time learning how to, whatever, you run a, say, fitness business.
Sure.
Are you going to spend all your time learning out how to sell your home instead of spending time with your kid?
Right.
Or like relaxing and then so you're better at your job so you can make more money? Or are you going to, what's the phrase? You're picking apples to save oranges? How's the phrase?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. And I can't remember the phrase, but yeah, you're basically spending more to save less,
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but yeah, I think we kind of dove into the LLPA'S and gave a lot of information there. I also heard something that going back to the average medium income, that now they're offering, and I want to say off the top of my head, it was either 5,000 or 2% of the purchase price. Maybe it was 4,000 or 2% of the purchase price. Because the video that I watched on it was making the case that, now you can effectively have a 1%, you can pay 1% down and get into your home. Because with this, if you make less than, I want to say it was 80% of the average medium income.
More than likely, a lot of these programs are based on 80% AMI. So,
okay. So essentially, it's just helping a lot of the lower qualified.
Yeah,
borrowers.
less financially qualified families or individuals. In many instances, though, you're going to find it challenging to find a household that maybe a household, because if it's based on household income, right? A household that makes under 80%. Because if you're having to include all of those incomes in it, sometimes it'll actually go over that 80%, which immediately negates the program.
Yeah.
But to circle back on what you were saying about like, Oh my God, I had it and now I just blanked.
Being able to being able to effectively
Okay, so-
purchase for 1% because
Yeah,
you're
so
able to
like
get
that would be like
kickback.
the way I would see that is there would be like a down payment assistance program because basically, let's say the program is advertised to offer 3 to 3.5% or however much. There's probably going to be an increase in the closing costs to cover some things on the lender side. There's still going to be basically where you're receiving a portion of those funds to go towards the down payment and closing costs. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They just like kind of like tell somebody like, hey, you'll get in with like this much down. It feels a little predatory to me, like to just go off that. Like I tell everyone, like let's look at everything on an individual basis, because that kind of marketing is basically like specifically just to like let me get you through the door. Let me get you through the door and get the conversation going. Once you're through the door, that's when you're going to realize like what they were talking about was a very specific VIN number kind of thing. Like, you know, when you, I don't know, like I'm going to age myself here, but like, you know, you look in the newspaper and you'd see like the circulars for like car sales and stuff. And they'd be like this one car that was like amazing, right? And it was like phenomenal. It's the car you wanted. It's like the 4Runner lifted with the package and everything. And then the price on it was like, oh my God, I want that. Like that was a really good price. And you look and it's like one at this price, right? And it's, here's the VIN number. So that way, once that one vehicle sold, they weren't held accountable to having to have other ones like that. So that's what I mean. Like a lot of marketing online, especially for lending, is like get in with no money out of pocket, right? Like, did you know you can buy a home with no money from you? Things like that. And it's like just play that through your mind. Do you think you should be able to buy a home with no money? Does that sound like a safe transaction to you?
Right.
You know, it's like no, it's not. And there might be a way to do it. There might be a way to get away with it in the sense that like you stack programs together, but like what are the long-term ramifications to that buyer, right? So that's why I say like one-on-one basis, everyone needs to be treated like an individual. We're all snowflakes. Nobody's different, right? Or nobody's the same. But when it comes to like using DPA, down payment assistance, things like that, we've got to look at the real long-term goal. Like, are we going to, what's our plan? Are we going to be in this home 5-10 years, you know?
Yeah.
Is anything going to change? What's happening in life? You know, things need to be adjusted. A lot of times a program like that might not actually serve somebody. Maybe there's a requirement to, reside in the home for X amount of time. So it's really just got to be personalized and tailored to fit that person's needs. If a lower monthly payment is your objective, then we need to look at how do we get you there? Is that a rate buy down? Is it using down payment assistance? Does the rate that comes with the down payment assistance help you? You know?
Yeah.
Does using the down payment assistance limit the amount of income you can qualify with? Oh, it does. Okay. Does it limit it to the point to where you can no longer buy the purchase price in the neighborhood that you were hoping for? It does. Okay. So is down payment assistance the best way for you? Because maybe all you have to do is save for another 5 months to get the money that you otherwise would have relied on, right? So then now the person's armed with the information to say, okay, cool. Hey, I saw that I could do this right now with down payment assistance, but my rate is going to give me a monthly payment that I'm not a fan of, like even more so, right? Or I pump the brakes, I rock 5 more months of solid saving, and I do it without. And now I get my rate, my neighborhood, my payment that I want. I get everything by so everyone's got to be like built out differently. We have to know what the goal is, because if home ownership, like if that's the only goal, right? Like I need to own a home now. I would have said, yeah, that Dream for All program, get it. That would have been the one for you, right? So yeah, it varies. We have to look at every situation differently, and not just kind of like put people in like boxes like that.
Yeah. I like how you brought the Dream for All up, because in reality, that was actually
A dream for few.
a terrible program for someone that planned on staying in a home for like the lifetime, because like the amount of money you can end up like losing on that, or if your goal is to build like wealth for your family type of thing, it's almost like a reverse mortgage in a sense, to where like that 20% over,
well, like I look at it
upwards
as like
like
you never
350,
really
right?
you never really own the you'll only ever own like maximum 80% of your home. Right, because if you have to share the appreciation by 20%, plus you have your original 20% that you put down, like you're just never going to own the full 100% of your home. And for some, hey, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because
you run the numbers, right?
You run the numbers.
How much money are you still saving, even if you do have to pay? How much, if you take out 20% of the payment that you make, that, home ownership, essentially bank account, if you will, if you want to look at it that way, how much are you still saving money versus renting?
Right.
And a lot of people would be yes. That's
Yeah.
the whole what we all.
Well, because like you're
preach.
financing 80% of a purchase price versus 97% of a 97 or 96 and a half of a purchase price. Like, because if you do 3% down, right, or 3.5% down, you're looking at, well, I'm going to finance 97% of the rest of this home.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you did the DFA, the Dream for All, I'm going to finance 20 or 80% of this home. That's a huge difference on a monthly payment. Plus, you're getting rid of the private mortgage insurance too. So for a lot of people, yeah, that was the affordability option to own a home. But yeah, it was interesting. I saw a lot of people were trying to find a way to break that system. Like real quick, I had a lot of people calling me up like, "Hey, if I do this, could I still do this?" I'm like, "No, it's not meant that way." It's like, but I could find a way to make it work. And it's like, oh man. The second we introduce something, like, as like humans, it's like we find something new and we're like, how do I break it? It's like what? Why are we doing that?
Oh no,
So
guilty.
well, it's like you said in your video, like it's a game,
Yeah.
right? Like, and my dad used to say this too. It's like it's a game. If you know how to play it, you'll win. If you don't, you're not going to.
Yeah.
You're not going to. And it's not like and people hear that and be like, well, that's not fair. And it's like, well, actually, I mean, like with the advent of the internet, hello. Like internet, like it's made everything available to you now.
Yeah.
Like look at the way every business has had to function ever since the implementation of the internet. Car dealerships used to be able to bogart the information about the cars, right? And you'd have to go from dealership to shop for a car. Right? Find out who's got the best deal. Now, you look online, you know who's got the best deal. What they do, they had to switch their game from making their money on the sale of the car to switching it over to making it on finance, because now they could no longer keep that information to themselves. Everyone knew what every dealership was doing. So they had to say, well, we got to make money on the back end now. So when somebody says like, oh, well, the financial game isn't fair, it's like, it might not be easy. It might not be easy. I will not negate that.
Yeah.
But everyone has the same access to the information.
Yeah.
It's not easy to assimilate that information always. It's not easy to know how to navigate it, but that's where like you find people like Robert and Sammy, they'll guide you through everything. But like you find people that are willing to take the time, and it's like, it's not always easy, but it is fair, it is beatable, it is adaptable. So.
Yeah. And I mean, that's at the end of the day, my big thing is like you always have two options. Like you can either accept what is or you can complain about what is. Like and at the end of the day, what's going to get you to where you want to be? What's more likely to get you to where you want to be? It goes, I tell Sophia this, I always use this as an example, but she asked, is Spider-Man real? And I always, for anything, Santa, Easter Bunny, whatever, I tell her that, well, do you want him to be real? And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, then believe he's real. Like, I mean, if that's the world that you want to live in and it makes your world better, believe in it.
Go for the gold.
Like it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, interfering with something that like you want to do. For example, if business wise, if there's something I believe about business that I want to believe, but it isn't true and it's preventing me from being successful, okay, I need to abolish that. But believing in Spider-Man, it's not gonna mess anything up. So I did, I mentioned when we talked that there was 3 things that I want to talk about. I've already touched on 2. So one other thing that I've been kind of diving into more, and this goes more into the investing side. How much do you know, or how much do you agree with using things such as like sub-2 mortgages or wraparound loans, or things such as like novation agreements? That's something I've been kind of diving into as far as how we can effectively use those to get someone in a home much easier. And I don't know if like when I think about it, that kind of wouldn't be part of your transaction, because then you're just kind of like someone's just tagging on to a loan or using the seller as a means of financing. But is this something, have you ever come across or that you've seen?
Legit? No, not too commonly.
Oh, okay.
No, not too commonly. The most I hear about nowadays for like maybe unconventional or uncommon kind of requests are bank statements are the least of the uncommons. I know I'm trying to find a way to rank that and it's not working in my head, but so bank statements are probably the most common uncommon. Seller held financing would be the second, and then assumables would be the third. Those would be like the 3 most common uncommons. Like I think I'm just having fun saying common uncommon.
Yeah.
Those would be like the most unconventional ways of financing that I hear about nowadays that people are asking about.
Yeah.
So, specifically though, yeah, I'd really have to dial in on the details of the bar and everything to like know more on that. But yeah, with those, I mean, you've got, let's see, what did I say? The first one is bank statements. That's a non-QM, basically investor program. People have to come in with bank statements in order to document income. This is what a lot of business owners use. You do see typically an increase in the interest rate, and there's a fluctuation in your down payment requirement between 10-20% sometimes. Then you've got the seller held, right? And that's kind of self-explanatory, right? Seller's going to hold on to the financing. You're going to make payments to them. And then the assumables, which was really big for a while. I don't know if you guys saw like a tick up in that.
I heard about, 'cause a lot of people were, assuming the prior rate.
Yeah.
And that was a means of them, being able to get
And that was super big for people because it was like, how do we bypass the interest rates, right? How do we beat the rate? And assumable came up because a lot of these people had 2s and 3s. And the one caveat, the one challenge to those is it's not really like a first time buyer thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to come in with a down payment that offsets it. So if the value of the home is $400,000 just for funsies, right, and the balance of the loan is $200,000, you got to come up with a $200,000 down payment to cover that equity gap.
Yeah.
So a lot of first time buyers, they don't have that. That's typically like a move up thing I might see. Somebody's selling one home and going to another.
Could you? I mean, in that case, not. I mean, I want to be respectful of your time and not
please.
dive into something completely hypothetical. But in that case, could someone assume their mortgage, that loan, the $200,000, and then take out a second seller financing of the other $200,000?
No, because in this case, the assumable, what you're doing is you're applying with the bank who holds the original mortgage for that remaining $200,000. So that's who's going to hold the financing for that. And then, so you're saying take out a loan for the $200,000?
So assume the continue paying the loan at that rate that they previously had, and then tell the seller, hey,
you'll finance
I'll finance, again.
I mean, if you want 2 payments, I guess, which no, that wouldn't really work because now the seller wants their equity, you know? That would be a really, I would say probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think that would work.
That's good to hear from you because when you go into going, it goes back to like what you said. Well, a lot of the marketing and stuff for a lot of these places is there's, it's like, oh, get into a home for no money down, and it's like, okay, that works for Joe Smith, not for Joe Schmo. Like there's, that works for Smith.
I like that you chose both Joes as first names.
Well, because they're close, right? Like they're close.
Like you weren't like, oh, that works for Joe and not Mark.
Well, because the point I was trying to get across is like they're both Joe, right? They're both obviously
similar people, but like like it could work.
But
for
it
one
could be
person.
just a tiny little tweak that makes it not work for you. That the Joe Schmo now has to pay whatever 2% down, whatever. Right. But you hear all this stuff like all over the place in the investing world that there is situations where yes, you can do this and this would work. And I'm sure there is, and I'm sure you would agree that is there a case out there right now to where someone can go get a $500,000 house with only $300,000 owed and take out, assume the loan and then also have a seller that agrees to seller finance.
So I mean, is there a situation in which that could work? Maybe.
Right, but like a needle in a haystack.
Needle in a haystack. Right. Plus, like it's going to be detriment to one party in there at least, because like that's just a lot of I promise being put on the line there. So.
And I guess it might have worked more, 3-4 months ago when there was more listings compared to like previous years. It was still low, but it was much more the average than it was like back in December. Versus now when things are usually ticking up, and they're ticking up a little bit. I need to run the numbers for
But there's still an inventory tightening.
Yeah, right. So now it's like the right homes, and it depends too. I see that like more lower priced homes are selling quick.
Yes.
Versus the higher priced homes they're sitting much longer.
Well, when you have an affordability issue, that's kind of how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right. Rates being where they're at, just generally affordability is not in the best of conditions for a lot of people right now. So. You're going to see less competition at higher price points, which means I'm not in real estate, so I haven't looked. I'm not in real estate, but you get what I mean.
Mm.
I'm willing to bet there's a significant difference between like days on markets for luxury or higher price listings
Yeah.
versus your entry level homes,
Yeah.
because the average person is probably going after that entry level home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also we're seeing, and this would be worth looking at too, because somebody's like, oh, you know, prices are coming down. I'm like, are prices coming down, or are original listing prices being lowered intentionally to drive business, right?
Yeah.
Like we go to open houses, and I remember 6 years ago or so when I first got in, rates were somewhere in the sixes, and I'd go to an open house, sit it with somebody, and we'd be lucky if we saw like 3 people for like 3 hours,
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours, right? Now it's like you need a second person there to help cover all the people that are coming in, you know? So that's why I would say, like, are prices really going down, or is it just that the original list price is being put more competitively to drive business to open houses and more offers, right? Which in turn is just going to result in higher prices.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's one that just across the street put it on for, I want to say it was like $650, which was like to what I looked at was they probably could get, and maybe it's closed now so I could look, like 30,000 more for the property, but it was gone. Like it went on the market on Thursday, that open house on the weekend, and it was off by Monday morning.
Yep.
Like, so it was
that doesn't shock me.
I bet you it was, and in the church right here, so people saw the open house signs, they're probably like, you know, they probably like went in and checked it out. So I bet
right after service, they were like, "Oh, yeah, let's go by there."
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I bet it was insane. Again, being respectful of your time. One last thing that I wanted to ask you about that I am struggling with this of all the YouTube videos I watch, because there's so many people that say different things on it. The 40-year mortgage. I hear people saying that, okay, like this is gonna, and like, oh, you know, people are gonna learn how to use this, get a lower payment, and then they can sell. But then I also hear that it's a I forget how to phrase this, and I'm sure you will be able to. But it's for people that are in financial hardship.
Yeah.
They're able to then
100%. It's a loan mod.
Yeah, there we go.
So it blew my mind when I saw this come out, because honestly, the first thing that it made me feel was like, oh my God, how did I not know this was coming?
Yeah.
I look so bad.
Yeah.
Because I got online one day, I don't know, the Insta book talk or something, and I saw somebody had put up a post about FHA approves new 40-year mortgage for home buyers, and I was like, oh no, I'm so out of touch right now. Like, I'm going to look so bad. So I immediately start scouring the internet. I'm like, wait, this isn't accurate. There's literally a phone number you can call for FHA. You sit on hold for a while, and a rep will answer the phone. And then, you know, you can ask a question. They'll direct you to wherever they need to direct you and get you information. So I do this, and I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure I know the answer on this already, but XYZ, 40-year mortgage. And she's like, no, loan mod. Thank you. Go pull up the document, look it up. Yes, agreed. Basically, no, there is no 40-year mortgage for a purchase. That's not a thing. I don't know how, but like I saw multiple big name news outlets put this out. I was at a relative's house, overheard the news, and they had a whole, you know, thing where they interviewed a loan officer on it about how this is going to increase purchase options for home buyers and everything. And, you know, I'm like, wow, this is all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody's done their homework on this. And we're talking big name news agencies.
Yeah.
And we're just putting the information out there. I mean, it's probably naive on my part to be like surprised by that anymore. But yeah, no, it's a loan modification. If you're in financial distress, specifically, I believe it's COVID as well, is one of the guidelines in there in regards to financial hardship. But
so what is it, essentially some kind of moratorium for like 10 years?
No, it's basically like you're restructuring the loan for 40 years.
Okay.
I mean, you're adding another 10 years worth of payments on there, and then taking the initial balance and recasting that out.
Which on like a $500,000 loan,
it's going to drop your payments significantly.
Yeah,
you know,
you're paying a lot more in the long run. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But and it's there to help people keep their home, not to obtain a home.
I saw some guy that mentioned, and this is where I might ruffle some feathers, but you know, it's all these things that I don't know if it's the government. I guess it would be FHA's, you know, government. But it's all these things that they're doing to prevent in a normal market people from losing their home. That this home would go on the market, and that means that they would have to sell, or you know, whatever, they'd foreclose. But it'd be a new home on the market that someone can purchase. That they're stepping in and they're preventing it, and that's part of the reason why we're having this lack of inventory, which is keeping home prices high because there's a lot of intervening going on right now.
There would have to be a fairly in-depth representation for me to like fully throw my hat into that arena.
Yeah.
And what I mean is like I'm not blind to the fact that the powers that be all like there's governing hands that move things around with intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do know that I can see from my perspective, I see attempts to create affordability.
Yeah.
And the key word there is attempts, because typically we can't take from one and give to the other without hurting one, right? We can't level things out without it having an impact to somebody. All of these big level moves that are being done, you know, like things like adjusting for a 40-year recast or on the mortgage, things like the Dream for All home loan, adjustments of the LLPA'S, all of these things, I believe, again, ignorance on my part, I believe there's an intention to create help for people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that intention is sometimes maybe not thought through all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not even that it isn't thought through all the way, but maybe the hands that are designing it don't have that bird's eye view to really understand how that's going to impact things on like smaller levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I'd agree that it's all being done and it's having a direct impact like that. I think it's probably having an impact, but I don't know if I'd say specifically that because these homes aren't being foreclosed upon, that's what's creating the inventory shortage. I'm not entirely certain.
I would say it contributes to it.
Yeah.
Though, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
That's not like, this is why. Because,
oh no, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I just hyper focused on that. So, it's really interesting though, because it does kind of trigger the thought of like, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, I'm going to wait for the market. They're trying to time the market, right? And let me ask you guys, timing the market. Sammy, you've worked with agents for a long time, so you've had a lot of conversations with a lot of different agents. And Rob, being an agent, does timing the market work?
From what I know, no, because it's one of those things to where it all depends on your financial situation. If you're spending $2,000 a month in rent and you're going to try to time the market right because you think some kind of crash is going to happen, your odds of coming out in that, okay, waiting a year, okay, so now you've lost an additional $24,000 that you could have put on, into a home. And you're hoping, say at an average price point here in Rancho right now is 700,000. That's, I'd have to run the numbers on that, but that's what, 5%. It's a 5% down. You can get into a home for that, for the $24,000. I'm going all over the place already. Timing the market, no.
Typically doesn't work out.
It doesn't, because you have to be so ingrained like in that situation. And again, like I have friends who are paying $500 a month. In their case, maybe it would be a little bit better to hold off to where you could put more down. But if you're spending $2,000+ a month, and in a year you're losing $24,000 because it's just gone. Yeah, it's kind of like where are you? Being a detriment to yourself. And I think a lot of times it is, when it comes to owning a home, it's commitment and like, okay, what if this does happen? But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you got in and you can afford that rate, you have a job that is stable, that you're going to be in. Yeah. It's like, there's no need to time the market because.
No, it's close to being ready and then having the opportunity. Yeah. And I feel like when people try to time the market, more often than not that I see the case, it's really just I'm not really ready right now.
I mean, even people have bought at like the peak, the absolute peak of 2022, like March of 2022. Maybe they've lost, I forget how much homes are down in like, actually I just ran these numbers like year over year, and it was down for March. It was down in Rancho like 0.6%. So it's like, you just hear that and like, 0.6%. Okay, let's say it goes down a little bit more. But how much have you saved by putting that money into where you're going to live that is essentially a bank account instead of just giving someone else the money and it's just gone? There's never anything you can do with that. Yeah, your equity can fluctuate, but I think people just, it's one, it's a commit. From what I've seen from my friends and people that I've talked to, it's a commitment thing, and then it's also it's a comfortability thing. They like where they've lived. It's you know, they've been there for years, and there's
It's
just
the devil
like,
you know kind of thing.
yeah,
You know?
and it's so they build these things in their head, reasons why that, oh, I'm trying to time the market, if you will. They may not say it that way, but they think something's going to happen, and it's easier for them now to just be like, oh, I'm going to time it because I hear this, and like, you know, that it's going to happen, it's going to go down, instead of being like, oh no, I should really focus on getting this done now, even though it's super scary, because I know, you know, 5-year-old 5 years from now, Joe Schmo is going to be much happier that he did, because I mean, you can look at the numbers and stuff. I guarantee you, outside of 2008, most people are going to be happy that they stopped renting and started owning, because 10 years down the road, you have my parents, they bought an RV with a HELOC. Like, you know, and it saved them substantially on being able to purchase it, because of such I forget how it did, but it saved them a lot. And that was because they own their home free and clear.
Yep.
So it's little things like that that gives you the opportunity, and then you own it a little bit longer, and you're like, oh, we can move. And then we have the decision, okay, now we have this 100,000 that we can put in a home. Oh, but can we still get the home if we rent this out? Oh, so now we have $300 extra a month, and then 10 years from now, our kids can have an extra $3,000 a month because we're renting it out. And it's like, these choices don't start to happen until you make that first initial, I just need to jump in.
Yeah.
And you got to be smart. And that's going back to the need of us.
Yes.
Is like, you know, and I would never, we were watching Wolf of Wall Street yesterday.
Okay.
And we got through half of it. And it's it's cringy, because it's just like, dude, I couldn't imagine, no amount of money to me would ever be worth knowing I'm screwing people over.
Yeah.
And
And he almost got a thrill out of it too. Like
Yeah.
that, like,
right, yeah.
I've never seen it before, and I was like, this is what this movie is about? Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys should watch The Big Short.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
That's
that.
I was
a
gonna
good
say if Wolf of Wall Street gave her that vibe, I was like, oh, The Big Short's not gonna be great.
I kind of like The Big Short a little bit better though, because at least there's, I mean, he does it in a sense to where it's like he bets against the world, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things to where it's like he's not necessarily screwing anyone over in the process, and so many people were screwing people over, but a lot of them were just going back to what we were just talking about, those home buyers, you know, that the people that are renting. It's like nobody wants to make the difference. They just see this, oh, they're doing it, like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep doing what they're doing, it's got to be the right thing, instead of just like, okay, I got to make this difficult decision to stop. Because to the best of my knowledge, I was, 2008, I was what, freaking like 14, something like that, and not 14, 17, 8, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I was young. I wasn't in the market to buy a home.
Yeah.
No.
And to my understanding, it was like people knew. Like, people in your position, but I know you weren't in the business then,
No.
but someone at your position 5-6 years into the business, the loan officers are like, early 2008, shit, it's not going to end well. Like, you start kind of picking things up, but nobody wants to be that guy that's like telling people, no, you shouldn't do this. And I'm hoping.
Well, nobody
now,
wanted to pop that bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to pop that bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
But it's one of those things. I mean, it's hard to say there's something that like, this I'm totally going to be like, well, this is going to be very controversial, but like I've read things regarding like Nazi Germany, and hold on, bear with me, hold on.
I am
there's a lot
eager
of-
to see the connection
I'm
here.
gonna tie this in. There's a lot of people that'll be like, yeah, it was disgusting and terrible what they did. And there's Jordan Peterson where he's brought up, okay, and everybody will sit here and say, I would never do that. I would never do that. And he makes a case where it's like, but would you not? Because it's easy to say now, sitting in the position that you're in and seeing
Right.
it happen, to say, oh, I wouldn't do that. But when you're surrounded by where it's like, hey, you're going to do this or we're going to kill your family, or you're not going to, you see us, us terrible Nazis. Yeah, we may be doing this shit, but we go home to our mansion. We got all this money, all our food. Like, we got our families taken care of. You're still not going to do it? Like, your morals are still not going to be there? And the reason I'm saying that is because right now, in that same position, 2008, I would like to believe that, yes, I would be telling people, I wouldn't do it. Like, something bad's going to happen, and then I'm hurting my own livelihood, and then it would require me to, fortunately I enjoy this, as I mentioned. Okay, where do I need to learn? Like, where can I pivot and still provide for my family and still be able to help people on the other end.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a win-lose type of situation. So I'd like to think in 2008, I'd be telling people no, not to, just as I would now. I wouldn't, going back to, I know some people that like, it's better for them just to rent right now because they're paying so little, they're renting from their parents or something. It's like, yeah.
We have that dialogue. We have to have that dialogue
Right.
because it's like I tell people is at the end of the day, I need to put my head down at night and know I'm not a bad person.
Yeah, right.
Like,
no, that's
So I've talked to people and been
nothing
like,
to
look,
not have that.
legitimately, can I do this for you on paper? Yes. Do I think this is a great idea for you? No, I don't.
Right.
Ultimately, it's going to be your decision.
Yeah.
But I would highly advise that maybe we save more, or we wait for this to happen, or da da da.
Yeah.
And 95% of the time, I'm hurt. 5% of the time,
Yeah.
okay.
You get stubborn, stubborn assholes like me. They're like, no, I know.
No, it's cool. I'll eat ramen.
Yeah, I'll figure this out. If I'm being fully transparent, I can think much clearer from someone else's point of view than I can my own. Like it's a bad quality that I have.
Hey, if you idea it, because I've got if my wife wasn't there half the time, man, I'd get myself in stupid trouble. So
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. It's like maybe that's like the yin and yang, or the dichotomy between man and woman is, men probably just have a tendency to be like, those all look freaking awesome. And then she's like, hold on. That's great. Maybe not right now.
we're on this one right now. Remember, we're working on
yeah,
this one.
Yeah.
But I want those.
Yeah, right? Oh.
Which is funny, because there are moments where you have to do that to me.
Well,
You
yeah.
have to kind of rein me in, so.
It depends on the thing, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Because they're more serious, like, real life things, and mine are more like, hey, can we go do this?
I don't know if I'd say like real life thing, because that would like inherently mean like yours aren't.
Oh, true.
I would.
The repercussions of her decisions aren't as large as mine.
Oh, okay. No, that I also relate with.
Mine
Yeah.
tend to be
I'll be like, let's just do this giant life-changing event because on a whim. And it's just like, I look at her face and I'm like, oh, I just stressed you out. Like, because she doesn't like telling me no, because she always wants to be like, let me whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. But like a lot of times she'll tell me no unintentionally because like I'll like I said, I'll hit her with like, oh, life-changing event for no reason. And it's like, what makes you want to do that now? And I'm like, oh, I stressed you out, didn't I? But then when I see her stressing, honestly, I've learned, I'm like, okay, what is she seeing that I'm not? Because obviously I am just totally.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that makes me feel good, if I'm being honest with you. I appreciate that. I'm new to this, like, pretty much like, we're practically married at this point. I still need to,
I was watching, I'm like, ooh, it's Sammy's face. Good to
get a thing on there. But it's good to know that, I've been, sum it up, past 6 years, I've been relatively, like, even in relationships that I've been in, I've just been focused on myself. What's best for me and then my daughter. And this is the first time that I'm now like, oh, okay, what's best for us as a collective? And it takes practice. It takes a lot of
different.
Training,
Yeah.
So it's good to hear from another man that's been married that they deal with the same stuff. Because I honestly sometimes I felt like alone in it, but
no, not at all, man. We are in a consistent place of learning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, cool. And on that note, on the consistent place of learning in just everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a long one to chop up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a long one.
Yeah, but you get faster, get better. Actually, today, I'm actually after this, I have I'm doing some more shorts and stuff, so reels or whatever on some of this stuff instead of the long 3-minute videos that I've been doing. I say long 3-minute videos, but adding multiple more clips.
By today's standard.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's today's goal, is just get all those, because having all 5, 6 of those now, this 6 is sitting back there. It's like, oh god, I gotta do this. So my goal is just knock those out and
go
this
kick
one
butt.
too, and
go kick butt.
Yeah, but yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you
thank you,
sharing.
guys.
And by the way, one of the reasons that from the beginning that I've I want to say fell in love with you, bro love. Yes. Was that I saw that from the beginning, not only just the integrity, but the same thing that I'm where it's okay, if I don't have this solution, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
And you definitely have that. So that's, you
Appreciate
helped
that,
me.
man. Thank you.
Guide me to where I need to go exceptionally well.
That's very flattering to hear.
So
it is.
I know again why you're our preferred lender
Thank
is
you.
because I know you'll do the same
That
thing
was
for
pretty
anybody.
mutual, because I think in the beginning when I even talked about ever getting real estate license, I said it'll just be for referrals. And when I started thinking about it a little more seriously, I was like, I have to tell you, dude, we're doing any deals, it's gonna be with Everett. And he was already like,
Well,
no,
hold
yeah,
on.
yeah.
That's not allowed. You have to give them 3 options. But the other two
Right.
will just be in small. Like I can't
Right.
read
Is
that.
that
And
did you use 4 font?
Everyone will just have his own, like it'll be bold, like and he'll have his picture and everything. Another thing.
I would be honored. I
Well,
am
I'll tell you
honored.
definitely for ours personally.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me in and just sitting down and chatting. This was the best way I could have started my Monday. So,
Right. Yeah. Let's go kick some ass.
yeah.
Let's go help some people.
All right.